Hey, this is René. Welcome to this video. And in this video, I want to show how to transfer or convert a MQL4 MetaTrader 4 Expert Advisor to MetaTrader 5 to the MetaTrader 5 platform. So we will use this Ichimoku Trader Expert Advisor. I think I made a tutorial for this on this channel already. So if you do not have this Expert Advisor, yeah, you can see it here. This is the complete source code. It is not really a big program, and it trades the Ichimoku indicator. So let me show it to you real quick in the strategy tester. So if I run this program and add the Ichimoku to the chart, we will see that we trade the crossing, wait a second, of lines. For example, if the red line moves above the blue line here, we have a buy signal. So the Tenkan Sen has to be above the Kijun Sen, and we also check if the price is currently above this these two lines, or this cloud pretty much. So the Senku span A and B. So this is what this program does. It is pretty simple. And then we have, I think, a SLNTP, don't we? No, we do not have. I think we close if we have a counter signal. So let me check if positions are closed. Yeah, I think positions are closed if there is a crossover in the other direction. So yeah, let's have a look here. We have a buy signal here, I think, and it is closed here with a sell signal. Yeah, this is working. So this is what this program does. And we will now take this program and take the source code and work on it, so this program works on MetaTrader 5. So what I do first is I go to the navigator to the left side here. If you do not see it, click on View Navigator, and I right-click Ichimoku Trader, so this program here, and I open the folder where it is lying. So I take this, I copy it here, copier, and I open the MetaTrader 5. MT5, because we want to transfer it to the MetaTrader 5, so we will use the development environment of the MetaTrader 5. So I just opened the MetaQuartz language editor here, and there I go to the navigator again, and again, if you do not see it, click on View Navigator, and I click on Experts. I open this folder, and I drop the program here, Ichimoku Trader. So on the left side, this program now appeared in the navigator, and you can see if I try to compile this program as it is in the MetaTrader 5 meta editor, this does not work, and this is because it has an unsupported file extension. The file extension is .mq4, and .mq4 means that it is a MQ4 or MetaTrader 4 file. What we have to do is we have to change it to MQ5. There is a warning because this may affect the file, of course, but we can say yes, we are aware of this. And once we did this, we can open the program again. It is now called Ichimoku Trader.mq5, and now you can see the error is gone, but we still have 70 errors left. And these are the things that we will take care of. So when it comes to programming and MetaTrader 4 and 5 programming, you can see many things are pretty much completely the same. So for example, you can see like this, the color scheme says that the MetaTrader 5 meta editor knows a lot of these words. For example, the ibars function, if we have a look here, it is completely the same in MetaTrader 5 as it is in MetaTrader 4. But still, there are some major changes which you have to take care of. So working in MetaTrader 5 or your MetaTrader 4 program will work in MetaTrader 5. So first of all, and maybe one of the most important points is working with indicators changed. In MetaTrader 4, you use a function like Ichimoku to receive a specific value from this indicator. And you can provide the symbol, the time frame, then the input parameters for this indicator, and then the buffer and the shift value in this for this specific indicator. In MetaTrader 5 is a little bit different. In MetaTrader 5, you work with handles. So the handle concept is something that you will not find in MetaTrader 4 programming, but you need it in MetaTrader 5 if you work with indicators. So what we do is we create a handle which we can call handle Ichimoku. You can choose any other name, but I always recommend to choose a name that says what this variable does. And we declare this as a global variable. This is important because we will use it in several functions, more specific in the onInit and the onTick function. So what we do here in the onInit is we call the Ichimoku function, because this function is also available in MetaTrader 5 programming, but as you can see here in the reference, which you can open by clicking F1 on your keyboard, you can see the return value is different because we do not return a double but a integer value now, and this is the value of the handle. And the name stays the same, but the parameters are different. So we only have the first 5 parameters, and the last 2 parameters are not there in MetaTrader 5 programming. But what I can do is I can simply copy the first parameters here and paste them here pretty much. So this is different for, this may be different for any other indicator, but you can always see the requested parameters for this indicator function in the reference. For example, if you want to calculate a moving average, you still use the IMA function to create a handle, but the parameters are a little bit different. Same for the Bollinger Bands and the ATR and so on and so on. But all of these functions have something in common because they create a handle. And this is important. This is a big difference if you compare MT5 to MT4 programming, because in MetaTrader 4 you would directly receive a specific indicator value for one specific bar, and in MetaTrader 5 you use these functions to create a handle. And this handle in the first place it is not an indicator value. It is a value that says the program what specific indicator you defined pretty much. So a handle stores the information for one specific indicator. And you can see in MetaTrader 4 we use this Ichimoku call several times, but the first 5 parameters always stayed the same because it is always the same indicator. And this is why we can use our handle now in MetaTrader 5 programming for to receive all the different values from this indicator. So I will show you how we can do this. So you create the handle in the onInit function, but since it is a global variable, we can also use it in the onTick function. And this is what we will do. First of all, we will create several arrays here, and I will explain this in a second. So senku span A, and whoops, this has to be an array, senku span B. And it is absolutely important that these are arrays. So in MetaTrader 4, you can use a normal variable of type double to store indicator values inside of them, but in MetaTrader 5, you have to use an array. And the array is declared using these squared brackets like I do here after the name of the variable. And an array is pretty much a field of data of the same type. So if you have a normal variable like this, you can store something like 23.32 inside of it. And this is okay because it is a double value that can hold numbers with a decimal point. But if you have a array like this, you can store multiple values inside of it. For example, you can say I want to store these values inside of this array. And this would work because they are all numbers that are that fit into the double data type. So this is the difference, like from if you compare a normal single variable to an array. In an array, you have the option to store multiple values inside of this array. And this is why we have to declare arrays, because in MetaTrader 5, you use the copy buffer function to receive values from a indicator. And as we open the parentheses, or the parameters of this copy buffer function, the first parameter is already the requested handle. And this is good because we have a handle already declared in the onInit function. So by providing this handle, the copy buffer function now knows what specific indicator we're talking about. Because I explained before, this handle, it stores all the information for one specific indicator. And since we now provide this to the copy buffer function knows what we're talking about. Now we have the buffer number. And to get the buffer number, it is always a good idea to have a look at the reference, because there you often find a node with the buffer numbers. For example, we have Tenkan-sen line, which has the buffer 0, and Kijun-sen line, which has the buffer 2, and so on and so on. So we could either use 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or we use these identifiers here. So I can say I want to use the Tenkan-sen line like this, and this will work. And now we have the starting position and the count. And this is pretty much what is in MQL4 programming, this last parameter, the shift value. But there's a difference. In MQL4 programming, you only receive one value at a time. So always the value for one specific bar. And in MetaTrader 5 programming, you can have values for several bars in one function call. So we have the starting position, which is pretty much the index of MetaTrader 4 programming. And then we have the count. And here we can say 1 if we only have one bar, or 2 if we want to have 2 bars. And then we have to provide the array where we store these data in. So since we have two values, we cannot store it in a single variable like this, but we need an array where we can store multiple values inside. This is why I explained it before. And let's come back to this position and count functionality. When we have the chart here, well, we do the update later, I think. So when we have a chart like this, the last bar, the very last bar to the right, always has index 0. And the previous bar is index 1, this is index 2. Now we said we want to receive the values starting at position 1. So we start at this bar. And since we have a count of 2, we will receive the value for this bar and the previous bar. So for these 2 bars. And they were stored inside of our array. And this bar will be stored at index 0 in the array and this bar at index 1. And we will see later on how we can use this. But first of all, we will call the copy buffer function for the other lines. So we use the Kijun-sen line like this. And we say the starting position is 1, the count is 2, and we store the values in the Kijun-sen array. And now we do the same for the copy buffer for the Senku span A line. And here we only need one value, and we store it in the Senku span A array. And maybe you ask yourself why we use an array here if we only store one value inside of it. This is because the copy buffer function by default is built like this. So you see, it is always an array requested as a third parameter. And it does not work if you provide a normal variable, because then you do not fulfill like the criteria of this copy buffer function. So you can see we now receive in total 6 values. 1 value for the Senku span A, 1 value for the Senku span B, and 2 values for the Kijun Sen and 2 values for the Tenkan Sen. And this is what we did in MQL4 programming before with these 6 lines. So we can now remove these 6 lines because in MQL5 programming, we only need these 4 lines here. So let's remove this, and if we compile this, we will see there is no error in the code until this point here, where we see the first error. And this is because in MetaTrader 4 programming, we were able to use the single variables where we stored the values in to check the condition for a buy crossover. In this case, we will have to use our arrays. So what we can do is we can say Tenkan Sen array at index 2 has to be greater than Kijun Sen at index 1, because we only have 2 values inside of this array, and these values have index 0 and 1. And then we have Tenkan Sen at index 0, which has to be smaller than Kijun Sen at index 0. So this is how you can build a condition then using these array values. And then we have the buy crossover. And you can see this does not throw any error. The next error appears here in this block. But first of all, before we go to this block, we will copy this condition here because we have the same for the sell crossover. So we can just exchange it. We paste it here and we just turn around these comparison operators. So now let's have a look at the next error. Here we have a problem because we are looping through all the positions. And this is the second really big and important difference if you compare MT4 and MT5 programming. So let's have a look. MT4, in MT4, everything is in order. So if you have a pending order, this is in order. If you have a open position, this is also in order. And if you have a historical position, so a trade that is already closed, this is also an order in MetaTrader 4 programming. So you always use this orders total, order select, and everything in MT4 programming. In MT5, this is a little bit different. In MT5, you have orders, you have deals, and you have positions. Let's do it like this maybe. So orders are pending orders, or you can have, or maybe I think there's even more. And there are history orders, and there are history deals. So in MT5 programming, it is built like this. So you have orders, which are pending orders. Then you have historical orders, which are executed orders or cancelled ordered. Cancelled, I don't know if you have 1 or 2 L's here. Then you have deals. Oh no, there are no. So there are only historical deals. So deals are operations that turn an order into a position. So that's why you have deals in MetaTrader 5 programming. So for example, if you have a look at the MetaTrader 5 toolbox here, you will find this history tab. And if you, for example, search for deals, you will see all the deals are documented. So you have a deal that opens a position and a deal that closes a position. So every position has 2 deals minimum. And you will also find historical orders here. And you can see they are filled and everything. So there's the MetaTrader 5 makes a difference here between orders, deals, and positions. And this is a big difference compared to MT4 programming, where everything is in order. And to complete this, you also have positions, which are open positions. And they will not appear in the history. So you cannot really select a history position. So you can select a history deal, you can select a history order, but you cannot select a history position in MT5. So positions in MT5 only exist for open trades. And this is a big thing that you have to understand. Okay, so once we learned this pretty much, let me comment this out. We can now have a look at the next block. So in this block, or the previous block. So in this block, we loop through all the open positions to check if we have to close a position if there's a counter signal. So again, in MT4, this is always this always works like this. So you loop through the orders because everything is an order in MetaTrader 4, but in MetaTrader 5 this does not work. So what we have to do instead is we want to loop through over the open positions total instead of orders total, because as we just learned, everything open trades in MetaTrader 5 are called position and not order. So the rest can be pretty similar because the loop can be used like this to loop through all the positions, because we have a function which is called position select in or position select like this. Oh no, we have to use the position select by ticket function and we have to provide a ticket, but we can get this ticket using the position get ticket function, and we can provide a index, which is this index I here. So this is used in MetaTrader 5 to loop through all the open positions and to select all the positions. And now we can go ahead and check the position symbol. We cannot use this order symbol function, of course, because it doesn't exist in MetaTrader 5, but once you selected a position, you can use the position get string function and say that you want to have the position symbol by providing this identifier. And the same process works for position get integer and position magic, because this is a integer value and we can compare it to the magic number of this expert advisor, which is a input variable. So once we did this, we then check if we have a sell position. And we can do this, of course, by using the position get integer function, and we provide the position type identifier, and we check if it is position type sell, I think. No, buy, no, sell. Yeah. And once we did this, we found a sell position, which we can then close. But we cannot use the order close function, which leads us to the third big difference in MetaTrader 5 programming compared to MetaTrader 4 programming. So in MetaTrader 4 programming, we can use functions like order send to open positions and order close to close positions. And you can see here the order send function exists in MetaTrader 5, but the order close function does not exist in MetaTrader 5. Because if you have a look at the order send function, it is completely built different in MetaTrader 5 compared to MetaTrader 4 programming. Because handling positions, orders and deals and everything is a little bit more complex in MetaTrader 5. But there is a predefined class, the CTrade class, which is part of the MT5 or MQL5 framework, which we can use to handle these operations like really comfortable. So go to your the very top of your program. Oh, and we do not need the strict here. And include trade/trade.mqh like this. If you compile this, you now have access to the trade.mqh class. And we can, for example, create a object variable of type CTrade now. And this object variable can be used to handle trade operations. So we can say if trade, and then we can say position close, and we have to provide a position ticket, and this is no problem because we have a ticket stored in our ticket variable. Then we can say we closed position number, and we can print the ticket again. So like this, you can see there is no error because we used this position close function, which is part of the CTrade class, and we can use it with this variable. So in MetaTrader 5, in most cases, you want to include this trade.mqh file like this. So just copy this line to your program and you will have access to it. And you can usually create a global variable. What the fuck? You usually are allowed to create a global variable like this, where you have a, just write CTrade like this, and then you have access to all the functions from the CTrade class using this trade object like we did here. And okay, let me remove this. Let's have a look at the next errors here. Okay, there's another difference in MetaTrader 5 programming compared to MetaTrader 4 programming, and it is working with the bid and ask price. Because in MetaTrader 4 you can just say bid or ask and you will get the bid or ask price. In MetaTrader 5 this does not work. What you have to do is you have to receive the ask price first. But this is no problem because this is just a quick line. You can just write ask is equal to symbol info double, because this is the function that helps you to receive all the double parameters of your specific symbol. So you have to provide the symbol and the identifier, so the function knows what value you want to receive. In this case, we want to have the ask price, and we store it inside of this ask variable. I usually like to declare my local variables with a small case letter here as a first letter, so I will have to exchange the capital letter here with my lowercase letter, so it works. But if we compile this, you will see the next error is gone, and yeah, this works. Now we have another problem. We do not know the senku_span a variable, and this is because our senku_span a variable that we declared here is an array. So we have to say we want to have the index 0 of this array, and this is index 0 because we only have one value stored inside of this array. If we compile this, the next error is gone. So now we fixed the code so far, and the only thing left is the position opening. What we have to do here is, you can see this is like how you can open positions in MT4 programming, but in MT5 it is a little bit different. So in MT5 programming it works like this. You say trade, and then you can, you can only say trade if you have this variable here, of course. So you have to declare it first. But if you have this global variable, you can say trade, and then you have access to all the functions. And there is, for example, this buy function. So we can say we want to open lots, which is here, an input variable, for the current chart symbol. And yeah, at the current entry price. But to be specific, we do not even have to provide this because the current chart symbol and the entry price is always like the default value. But let's go like this. We say the comment is the last parameter here for this trade object. And maybe you realized that we do not have a parameter for the magic number. This is another difference compared to MetaTrader 4. In MetaTrader 5, you will have to set the magic number for your trade object. So it will be applied to all the operations that are executed or done by this trade object. So we can do this in the onInit usually. This is the best place. So you can say trade set expert magic number, and then you can just set the magic number for this trade object. So all the operations are executed with this magic number. For example, this position will be opened with this magic number. Once we did this, the next error is gone, and now we have the same thing to do for the cell crossover. So let's copy this first block where we close the buy positions. So let me just exchange this here, paste it here, because now we have to loop the positions and not the orders, and we have to search for buy instead of sell positions. The rest pretty much stays the same. We use this trade object variable to close a position if we found a buy position with this magic number. And then, of course, here again, we will have to get the bid price first using the symbol info double function like this. So we say bid is smaller than senku_span a at index 0 again, because this is a array. I explained this before. And then we have bid again with a small case letter. And we open the position using the trade class and using the sell function. So the volume is lots, the symbol is the symbol. We do not, we could say entry here. We do not even need this. And commentary like this. So if we compile this, you can see now all the errors are gone. And we should be able to run this in the strategy tester. And afterwards, I will maybe explain one or two things again for this program. So let's go to the tester. Let's search for this Ichimoku trader program here. Let's run it and let's check if it now also works in the MetaTrader 5, because we just transferred all the code from MT4 codebase to MT5 codebase. So let's wait until this is loaded completely. So there are the lines, and let's see. Yeah, there was a crossing. So you can see the, whoops, let me move here. There was a buy crossover, so we opened a buy position, but we do not really want to open a buy position, right? Because we are below these two lines. Oh no! Oh, that was my mistake. This was the closing deal for the sell position here. So we opened a sell position and not a buy position. And yeah, I think this sell position was opened because the red line dropped below the blue line here. And yeah, let's have a look at some more trades. Whoops, we have another sell trade here. Red line dropped below the blue line. We are below the Senku span A and B. So we have another sell position, which is still open and should be closed once there is a crossover in the other direction, and we see it here. So, and we can also have a look at the journal. There are no errors, I think, and everything is documented correctly. Let's wait for a buy trade to see if this also works. So we will have to wait for a buy crossover above these lines, and there it is. So we also see buy trades, and this program seems to work. So let me walk you through the process one more time. So this is now our complete MT5 program. So when you work with positions in MetaTrader 5, you usually use this trade.mqh file, which includes the CTrade class. And you can use it by copying this line to your program. Then we have several input variables. I think there is not a single difference when it comes to input variables. It is completely the same if you compare MT4 and MT5 programming, so nothing really to explain here. This is the declaration of the trade object, which is of type CTrade, which we can use because we included this line. So if I remove this, this does not work because then we get an error here. But if we have it, everything's fine and we can use this CTrade class. Then we have two more global variables. Nothing really special. Global variables work in MT4 and MT5 completely the same, but this is a little bit different. We have this handle here in MetaTrader 5, which we use to define a specific indicator in the onInit function usually. Because we can use the Ichimoku function in MetaTrader 5 to define a specific indicator handle. So handles hold the information for a specific indicator, and they are used in MetaTrader 5 programming to then use the copy buffer function to receive information from this specific indicator. Then we usually set the magic number in the onInit function for a trade object, because this is important because then we open all positions with this specific magic number. Then we go to the onTick function, checking if there's a new bar is not. There's no difference if you compare MT4 and MT5 programming, but receiving indicator values is different in MT5. So let me explain this again. You will always need arrays for this because you use the copy buffer function to receive indicator values from a specific indicator that is defined in a handle. And then you always provide the handle or as a first parameter, then the buffer number, and you can either use 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, or usually there are identifiers for this. So this is a little bit easier to read, I think. And then you have like this starting position and the count. And this is what I explained before. This is always position 0, this is 1, this is 2. And if you have like multiple values that you want to receive, you always define the starting position and then the count, like how many candles from that point on you want to receive. And then as the last parameter, you just provide the array where these values shall be stored inside. So when it comes to building conditions for your signals, this is, you just use the arrays instead of single variables very often. So you just use the name of the array, then in a squared bracket the index of the array value that you want to receive, and then it works. Everything else is the same, you just build conditions. Then we have this beautiful loop where we loop through all the positions. And this is a big difference between MetaTrader 4 and 5 programming. In MetaTrader 4, everything is in order. In MetaTrader 5, you have orders, deals, positions, and historical orders. And yeah, you loop through the open positions or trades using the position functions. So we can use the positions total function to get the total number of positions. We can use the position get ticket function to receive a position ticket at a specific index, and we can select positions using a ticket number. And then we use position get functions, which are pretty similar to the order symbol, order magic number, order whatever functions in MetaTrader 4 to receive information from positions. And then we can, for example, use this trade object to close positions. And this is really easy and comfortable, and it's even easier in MetaTrader 5 compared to MetaTrader 4. Then when it comes to position opening, we again just build a condition. There's a little bit different. There's one difference here because we will have to get the ask price first, and we cannot use it right away. So this is just like one more line. And everything else is the same. We define the entry price and then we open the position. But here we cannot use the order send function as we used to in MetaTrader 4 programming, but we can use this trade object here to have access to the buy and sell function and open positions then using this function. And this function will take care of the rest in the background. And yeah, the same applies, of course, for sell signals and the opening of sell positions. So, I hope that you liked this short overview. And this already covered, by the way, the most important differences when it comes to MT4 and MT5 programming. So there are differences when it comes to the order management system, when it comes to working with indicators, and opening and closing positions. And that's pretty much it, I think. So most of the other things are pretty similar. So most functions can be used in MT4 and 5 programming. For example, the iClose, iOpen, iWhatever functions can be used in both, and they are completely the same. So many things stay the same, some things are different, but if you have a specific thing that you want to translate from MQL5 to MQL4 to MQL5, you can just Google it. There are great forum entries and even complete articles for workarounds and how you can take your MT4 code and make it executable in the MT5. So I hope you liked this short overview. Let me know what you think about it, and we will see each other hopefully in the next video. Until then, have a great time and good trades.